All around the mulberry bush, the monkey chased the weasel. The monkey thought 'twas all in fun. Pop goes the weasel. I'll never forget the first time I really paid attention to this nursery rhyme. I was at a children's birthday party, watching a group of 5-year-olds play the game. You know, where they all hold hands and skip around in a circle until someone shouts, "Pop goes the weasel," and everyone falls down in a giggling heap. But as I watched these kids deliberately building up anticipation just to have everything collapse, something clicked for me. This isn't just a silly game about animals chasing each other. This is a song about the cycle of tension and release that governs pretty much everything in human life. Build up, build up, build up, and then everything explodes. The kids weren't just playing a game. They were unconsciously rehearsing one of life's most fundamental patterns, the way we create pressure until something has to give. And they were loving it, absolutely delighting in the moment when the careful structure they'd built together came crashing down. What kind of weird psychological programming is that? We're literally teaching children to find joy in systematic collapse. But here's where it gets interesting from a shadow work perspective. Maybe that's exactly what we need to learn. Maybe the problem isn't that life builds up pressure until something pops. Maybe the problem is that we spend so much energy trying to prevent the pop that we forget to enjoy the ride. Before we dive into the psychological soup of this thing, let me tell you what this seemingly innocent rhyme is actually about. Because like most nursery rhymes, the cute animal version is just the sanitized cover story for something much more raw and human. The original Pop Goes the Weasel wasn't about monkeys and bushes at all. It was about poverty, desperation, and the endless cycle of getting by in 19th century London. Weasel was Cockney rhyming slang for weasel and stoat, which meant coat. And pop didn't mean explode. It meant pawn, as in pawning your belongings at the pawn shop. So the real song went something like this. All around the mulberry bush, the Eagle Tavern on City Road, a popular gathering spot, people would spend their money on drinks and entertainment until they ran out. Then pop, off to the pawn shop with the coat, the only thing of value they had left. Picture this. You're a working-class person in Victorian England. You work brutal hours for barely enough money to survive. When payday comes, you and your friends head to the tavern because you need some joy, some connection, some relief from the grinding reality of your daily existence. You drink, you laugh, you forget for a moment how hard your life is. But eventually, the money runs out. And when Monday morning comes, and you need to get to work, but you've spent your last shilling on Saturday night's temporary happiness, what do? You take your coat, often your only valuable possession, and you pawn it for enough money to get through another week. Pop Goes the Weasel wasn't celebrating disaster. It was acknowledging a survival strategy. It was saying, sometimes the only way to get through this life is to build up some pressure, some joy, some temporary escape, even knowing that eventually you'll have to pay for it. Now let's talk about what this pattern looks like in modern life. Because trust me, we're all still playing this game. We just don't call it Pop Goes the Weasel anymore. Think about the last time you found yourself in a cycle of building pressure until something had to give. Maybe it was work stress that you kept ignoring until you had a breakdown. Maybe it was relationship tension that you avoided addressing until you had a huge fight. Maybe it was financial pressure that you tried to manage by not looking at your bank account until the overdraft fees started piling up. We live in a culture that's basically designed around the Pop Goes the Weasel principle. We build up pressure, work longer hours, take on more responsibilities, ignore our needs, avoid difficult conversations, suppress uncomfortable emotions, until something has to explode. And then we act surprised when it does. The shadow here is that part of us actually loves the pop. Not consciously, maybe, but somewhere deep down, we're addicted to the cycle of build-up and release. Because the pop gives us permission to finally feel what we've been avoiding, to finally address what we've been ignoring, to finally break free from whatever unsustainable pattern we've been maintaining. Let's dig deeper into the characters in this little drama, because they represent different aspects of our own psychology that are constantly chasing each other around the mulberry bush of our lives. The monkey is the part of you that thinks everything is just fun and games. It's playful, impulsive, not thinking about consequences. The monkey chases the weasel because the chase feels good, because movement feels better than stillness, because pursuing something, anything, gives life a sense of purpose and excitement. The weasel is the part of you that knows the monkey is gaining ground. It's the part that can feel the pressure building, that senses something's got to give, that's simultaneously trying to escape and secretly waiting for the inevitable moment when the chase ends. And they're both going around and around the mulberry bush, stuck in a repetitive pattern, covering the same ground over and over, until the pressure builds to the point where something has to pop. Sound familiar? That's because we all have internal monkeys chasing internal weasels around the mulberry bushes of our unresolved issues, our unmet needs, our avoided conversations, our suppressed emotions. Here's where this gets really interesting from a shadow work perspective. Most of us have learned to create controlled explosions in our lives because we're terrified of genuine spontaneity or authentic emotional release. We build up pressure deliberately, overwork ourselves, create unnecessary drama, pick fights we don't really want to have, because it gives us an excuse to finally let out some of the energy we've been holding back. But it's still controlled. We're still managing the explosion. We're still trying to dictate the terms of our own release. Think about the last time you had a Pop Goes the Weasel moment in your life. Did it actually resolve anything? Or did it just give you temporary relief before the cycle started building up again? The shadow here is that we've become addicted to crisis as a form of emotional regulation. We create pressure so we can release it. We manufacture problems so we can solve them. We chase our own tails around the mulberry bush and call it progress. But here's the thing those kids at the birthday party understood that we adults have forgotten. There's genuine joy in the moment when everything falls apart. Not because destruction is inherently good, but because collapse often signals the end of something that was never sustainable in the first place. When the weasel finally pops, it's not just a failure, it's also a relief. The pressure is finally released. The chase is finally over. The unsustainable pattern finally breaks. The shadow we don't want to look at is how much energy we waste trying to prevent necessary collapses. We shore up relationships that need to end. We cling to jobs that are slowly killing us. We maintain facades that exhaust us. We keep running around that mulberry bush long after the game stopped being fun. And then we wonder why we feel so drained, so stuck, so disconnected from any sense of authentic joy or spontaneity. Let's go back to that original meaning for a minute. Pawning your coat to get through another week. Because there's something profound in that metaphor that we need to unpack. Your coat is your protection, your warmth, your defense against the elements. In the context of the song, it's the one thing of value you have. And when push comes to shove, when the pressure builds to an unbearable point, you trade it away for temporary relief. What are you pawning in your life? What essential parts of yourself are you trading away for short-term survival? Maybe you're pawning your creativity for financial security. Maybe you're pawning your authenticity for social acceptance. Maybe you're pawning your dreams for other people's approval. Maybe you're pawning your emotional well-being for the illusion of control. And here's the really painful part. Just like those Victorian workers, you might get your coat back eventually, but you'll probably have to pawn it again next week. Because the system that created the pressure in the first place hasn't changed. Here's what I've learned after years of watching people, including myself, go around and around their mulberry bushes. The pop isn't the problem. The pop is often exactly what needs to happen. The issue isn't that pressure builds until something gives way. The issue is that we build pressure unconsciously, release it destructively, and then immediately start building it up again without learning anything from the process. But what if we could learn to work with the pressure instead of against it? What if we could recognize when the weasel is getting tired of running and consciously choose how to release the energy? What if the pop could be creative instead of destructive? What if it could be a breakthrough instead of a breakdown? This requires a radical shift in how we think about pressure and release. Instead of seeing them as things that happen to us, we start seeing them as energy that moves through us. Instead of trying to prevent all pops, we learn to choose which ones serve us. So what would Pop Goes the Weasel look like if we played it consciously, with awareness and intention? Picture this. You notice pressure building in some area of your life. Instead of ignoring it or trying to control it, you get curious about it. You ask, what is this pressure trying to tell me? What needs to be expressed, released, or transformed? You create space for conscious expression instead of unconscious explosion. You have the difficult conversation before the fight. You ask for what you need before you burn out. You feel your emotions before they become symptoms. And when something does need to pop, when a job needs to end, a relationship needs to shift, a life structure needs to change, you let it happen with grace instead of resistance. The monkey and the weasel don't have to be enemies. They can be dance partners. And the mulberry bush? That can be the sacred circle where transformation happens, where old patterns die and new ones are born. Pop